Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for tuning in to our very first podcast. I'm Medina County Auditor Mike Kovac in beautiful Northeast Ohio, and today we are going to talk about appealing your property valuation. And while we'll talk specifically about what goes on in Ohio, most of the information we use will be helpful to you no matter where you live in the United States. Now, one of the first tips I want to give you is this: do not talk about your tax bill. Even though that is the main thing on most of our minds when we get our property tax bill, the thing is your county auditor or assessor has no power to change your taxes. They only have the power to address your property valuation. Now, does your property valuation affect your taxes? Of course. Otherwise, no one would be interested in it at all. But this is a fine point, and I believe it will make your life easier in all your appeals cases if you consistently talk about your property value and don't talk about your taxes, because you will always get that refrain, we can't do anything about your taxes. So now, if you're concerned about your property valuation due to a reappraisal, the first thing you want to do is that thing all of us have struggled with since we were in school: read the instructions. In most cases of a reappraisal, your auditor or assessor will send you notification of your new property value. Typically, they'll also tell you how to object to the new valuation. So make certain to read the correspondence. And in Ohio, all appeals to your valuation must be filed by March 31st of each year, but in many jurisdictions, you only have 30 days. And in Ohio, you don't have to have a reappraisal to appeal. So you can go on ahead and appeal even if there has not been a reappraisal. You can only do it once every 3 years in general. But again, you can appeal by March 31st of each year in Ohio. Now, if your jurisdiction offers informal appeals and you have questions about your value, I'd strongly urge you to turn out for that informal session. These interactions are often more streamlined, there's much less administrative hurdles that have to be climbed, and if you make a persuasive case, you can get your valuation concerns addressed in a much more expeditious manner at the informal hearing than at a formal appeal. And again, in Ohio, mostly informal appeals are only done during reappraisal years. But again, that's an opportunity to have your valuation concerns addressed more quickly. However, if it's not a reappraisal or your jurisdiction did not offer informal appeals, you will be required to file a formal appeal. In Ohio, that appeal goes to your county board of revision. Now, the Board of Revision is a separate entity from your auditor's office. It is a 3-member board comprised of representatives from your auditor's office, the treasurer's office, and the commissioner's office. Sometimes the actual elected officials will sit on the board, but more often than not, it will be representatives from their offices. And the reason you have to file your appeal to the Board of Revision or this appeals process wherever you may live is that once the auditor or the assessor files their values with the state, they don't have any power to change them again once the state accepts those values. So if you want to appeal, you have to go to this Board of Revision. Now, once you've read that letter from your auditor, or once you've determined you think your value is too high, you might also want to consider whether an appeal is worth it or not. For example, if you live in Valley City, Liverpool Township in Medina County, and you think your property is overvalued by $5,000, you might want to check what difference that may make in your tax bill. You can go to the auditor's website at medinacountyauditor.org, and we're going to direct you there a lot. But you can go to medinacountyauditor.org, look up tax info there, and use our tax estimator to see that reducing your value by $5,000 will only reduce your tax bill by $72.49 per year. Is it worth it to appeal? That's always up to the homeowner, but is certainly something you want to consider. Okay, you've decided your property value is too high. You want to make the appeal. How do you prove that your property is valued too high? Well, once again, read the data. Reach out to your auditor or assessor and get the specific information that they have on your property and that they use to value your property. Almost every auditor in Ohio and across the nation has this data online. And again, in Medina County, go to medinacountyauditor.org and click on real estate to find your specific property. Once you find that property, check our data for errors. Oftentimes, the quickest way to reduction is to find an error in our data. And while we and all the other auditors and assessors across the country do our best to make sure our data is correct, In Medina County, we do about 84,000 of these, and again, at a cost of about $10 for appraisals. So mistakes are going to be made. And the areas you're looking for, do we have the year built correct? Do we have the proper number of bathrooms? Have we included an outbuilding that shouldn't be there? Do we have basement area where there shouldn't be any? And are our measurements correct? Now, on this last item, please note that all measurements of property in Medina County and throughout Ohio and probably throughout the country are done on the exterior. This will inflate the measurements of your house, the square footage a little bit, but allows those measurements all to be standardized across the county and indeed across the state. On another note, one other note, if we have the bedroom count wrong, that is not an item we attribute specific value to in Medina County. So if we have 3 bedrooms, vice 2, we'll make the change, but that in itself will not bring about a change in your value. But let us know. We'd still like to make sure we have that number correct. Okay, you've now checked the data and you've either found it correct or contacted your auditor or assessor to get it corrected. Now what do? You still think you're overvalued. Well, now you're getting down to the meat and potatoes of property valuation, comparing your home to similar type homes that have sold in your neighborhood. You want to do what's called a market analysis or a comparison of your home to other homes in the area to determine its worth. Now, the quickest way to do this, I have to say, and the realtors may not like to hear this, but the quickest and easiest way to do this is to reach out to a realtor. This is the exact same process that real estate agents use to determine pricing of real estate that they're going to put on the market. Now, some realtors may be willing to do this for free, where others may charge you a fee, but this is a real estate agent's profession, and most of them have a very good idea of the market where they operate. So particularly if you know a real estate agent, it may be worthwhile to discuss your home valuation with them. If you have to or choose to do it on your own, there are several steps to take. First, you're going to need to find comps or comparables or homes or properties that are comparable or similar to your own. There are numerous ways to do this. In Medina County, once again, you can search all property sold in the county by going to medinacountyauditor.org and clicking on real estate transfers. On our site, you can actually search sales by street, which is very, very important because in real estate, location means everything. Therefore, if you can find comparable homes on your own street that have recently sold that are lower in price than yours, that is tremendous evidence to take before the Board of Revision. You can also check different real estate sites like Realtor.com, Zillow, and many other sites. Now remember, you are looking for homes that have sold and are comparable. And in Medina County and Ohio in general, you're looking for homes that have sold, within a year or two, hopefully before the time we're talking, or so going back a year or two, sometimes 3. And that may vary a little bit. But again, you're not going to want to look at a home that sold 10 years ago. Or sometimes we have people come in and say, well, I bought this home for $50,000 in the year 2000. It should still be $50,000. And that simply is not the case. So when you're looking for comparable homes, what does comparable mean? Well, first of all, as we just said, they should be in your area. Depending if you're in a more dense area, if you're in the city, you may be able to find comps or comparable homes around your property within a half mile. Again, the closer the better. If they're on the same street, that's the best. If you're out in the country, it may be a little harder. You may need to search in kind of a wider circle diameter. But one thing to keep in mind, try to find properties in the same school district and the same city or township, as these are the most comparable. The number one thing in comparing property is typically the school district in which that property is located. Over the years, I've had people try and compare their homes in Hinckley Township with homes out in Lodi and Homer Township. And if you're familiar with Medina County, you would realize that those simply are not comparable areas or markets. So again, location is everything. Try and find properties that are in your school district. in the same city, and again close by. If you're looking at properties, say in Medina, that were close to downtown, vice a new subdivision someplace else, those really aren't comparable either. Now you found the area you want to look in. Next, you want to find homes that are similar to your own, and this means a lot of different things. This means if you have a ranch home, please look for other ranches. If you've got a two-story home, look for two-story homes. If your home is brick, you're going to want to compare that to brick homes if you can, and try to find homes also that are within 10 years of age of your house. That's the number that I like to use. You can go beyond that sometimes, but again, the closer they are in similarity to your home, the better off you are. Other items to keep in mind are the number of bedrooms and bathrooms. Again, they don't have to be exact. We can make adjustments for that. Finished basements can have a large effect. The amount of acreage with the home, and general quality and condition of the home. And also a big thing to keep in mind as you're looking, you're going to want to check the square footage of those homes. You really don't want to compare your 2,500 square foot ranch to the 1,100 square foot ranch across town. That would cause you to lose some credibility in front of the board, and they typically would give no weight to that comparable. So again, these different items are the things you want to keep in mind as you're looking for comparables, comps to check the valuation of your home. Now, there's a wide variation in all of these categories, and you're rarely going to be able to find homes exactly like yours, but the intent is to find homes that are comparable, homes that are similar, that are like yours. And if you're able to do that, you'll be given a lot more credibility by the appeals board or board of revision when you come in with your complaint. Now, another item that you may want to bring to the board's attention once you've gathered some of this other information is any deficiencies in your home that may not be readily discoverable by your auditor or assessor. Remember, most auditors and assessors never see the inside of your home. So if you've got a leaking roof, a wet basement, basement that floods, a bathroom that was torn up and never redone, these are things that you're going to want to point out to the board. Those are items that would make your home less comparable, perhaps, to some of the ones that sold, and hopefully the board is going to take that into consideration when deciding what the value of your property is. Okay, once you've gathered all this evidence together, you are going to want to find a way to present it to the board in a direct and timely manner. Spreadsheets are great for things like this, where you can list out all the different properties of not only your house, but the houses that you're going to compare them to. So list out the square footage, the acreage, the year built, the number of bathrooms and bedrooms, any amenities that each property may have, whether it's got a finished basement, does it have decks, porches, outbuildings, things like that. And also, typically, boards are going to compare these properties on a price per square foot basis. Now, this number is simply found by taking the sale price of a property and dividing it by the amount of square footage in that home. In the case of your individual property, if it hasn't sold recently, you are going to want to look for take the value that we have it valued at and divide that by the square footage, and that'll give you a cost of your home on a square footage basis. So that allows you to compare, say, a 2,500 square foot home to a 2,300 square foot home. So always take a look at that, the price per square footage. Now, this is a number, again, that you're absolutely going to want to check before going to the board, because if your price per square foot is lower than these comparable sales that you found, you could be in trouble, and you're going to want to consider whether you want to go to the board at all. In fact, you probably don't want to go to the board, because remember, as you're coming to the board of revision, that board is not there simply to determine whether to lower your value or not. The tasking to appeals board, the Board of Revision in Ohio, is to set your property value in accordance with the market. That means if the data shows that your property is low, the Board of Revision has the power. In fact, they have the duty to raise your valuation. So again, once you've looked at these comparables in your area, make sure and see what those numbers are telling you, because the Board of Revision and Appeals Board across the country do have the power to raise your value. Okay, now you've gone through all these steps and you're ready to file your appeal. Again, there are certain things that must be done in Ohio, must be done wherever you're going to file that appeal. As we mentioned earlier, the deadline to file an appeal in Ohio is March 31st. You have to make sure and get that filed before that date. There's a specific form that you need to fill out to be able to file a Board of Revision in Ohio, and that can be found on our website, and it can be found on almost any county auditor's website in Ohio. For ours, it is medinacountyauditor.org, and it's under Real Estate, under Board of Revision. And the form itself can be a little intimidating. The big things you want to make sure to do there is make sure you have your information listed there, contact information with a telephone and an email, parcel numbers from your property or tax, any properties that you want to appeal. And the big thing that the board is looking for is what you believe the value of your property is. And I've heard this time and again in boards of revision where people will fill out the appeal, and we say you have to fill out this number to tell us what you think the value of the property is, and they will say, well, I don't know what the value of the property is. And the obvious question is, then how do you know it is valued too high? So again, and we'll walk you through that, filling out that appeal if you need help. But you're going to want to make sure and put down what you believe the value of your property is. So again, that in a nutshell is things that you can do, things that you're going to want to think about in appealing the valuation of your property. And again, in Ohio, you're going to file that with the Board of Revision in whatever county you're in. It may be a little different in different states across the country, but there always is an appeals board. And again, your determination of value is going to be made by that 3-member board. Even though you have to file that appeal by March 31st, you may not get your hearing scheduled for months. In fact, it's almost likely that your appeal may not be heard for months on that appeal that you file. So keep that in mind. You'll typically get about 2-week notice of when your hearing will be. In the age of COVID, in the age of technology, you may be able to attend your hearing via a Zoom meeting or a phone call. Some others may require you to come in person, but that's going to be up to individual boards. Once your hearing is held, you will be notified of the outcome of that hearing. In Ohio, if you do not get the value that you're looking for, you do have the possibility of appealing that decision to the state of Ohio, and that is called the Board of Tax Appeals. Again, there's a whole set of requirements to follow there, but very few appeals go to the Board of Tax Appeals, and if that should happen to you, we can give you the information that you need for that. So, but again, always take a look at the value that your county auditor or your tax assessor applies to your home. That does directly affect your taxes, and if you think your value is too high, you most certainly have the right to appeal that valuation by going to, in Ohio, the Board of Revision or the Board of Appeals in other areas of the United States. So we thank you for tuning in. Again, if you ever have questions about filing an appeal on your property, or if you have questions about the value, typically we will walk you through. We may look at some similar sales in your area to give you some idea whether we think you may be overvalued or not. Please do not hesitate to reach out to your Medina County Auditor's Office. You can reach me via email, Mike Kovac, Medina County Auditor. The email is mkovac, K-O-V as in Victor, A-C-K, at medinaco.org. That's mkovac at medinaco.org. Or reach out to us at 330-725-9754. We certainly appreciate you tuning in, and never hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. Thank you very much for your time.